Hi, I'm Marlene Fairchild, the Caffeine Realtor. Today we are going to go over the Residential Purchase Agreement, acronym RPA. This is 11-page document. It is marked up like the one that you see here that I have sent you for us to review. It's a lengthy document, so I wanted to make this video to help accompany or supplement the explanation of the RPA because it is such a big deal. So this is basically the agreement between the buyer and the seller, and these are the terms that you guys are agreeing upon. So this first page is basically all of the financial terms. So it's going to have the parcel number, the address in reference, and how much you're paying for the property, or at least how much you're offering to pay, how much your deposit is going to be, and whatever your earnest money deposit is going to be, which is your skin in the game. So that's what this first page is in summary. Page 2 is a couple of additional terms about the agreement, basically the length of the agreement. So the loan application is typically done in 2 days. Most buyers have their loan application and pre-qualification done before they even start the process of purchasing, which is recommended. And pretty much what I tell my clients is if you're we can't really get out and start looking at homes unless I know what your budget is. So secondly, on B is the appraisal contingency. That is typically about 15 days, but it really depends on the market. So if there's, a huge buying frenzy, interest rates are super low, purchase prices are really down, you have that perfect storm and everybody's buying something. Investors are buying 10 or 15 properties at once. By the way, if this is you, give me a call. I will help you. But the appraisal tendency is about 15 days. And if it's very, very busy, it can be longer if appraisals are backed up or taking a very long time. Loan contingency, typically 21 to 25 days. That's on Section C. Section D, cash purchase. Unless you're purchasing with cash, you would just leave that in A. And sale of other property, which is Section 3. Basically, you will let us know if this is or is not contingent upon the sale of another property. So for some of my relocations, if you're selling your home in a different state and buying one here in Las Vegas, this is a box that you would check. Section 4, fixtures and personal property. If we're walking through a home and we see particular things that may not be affixed to the property and you're like, oh, I wonder, does that convey with the home when I buy it? This is exactly what we would put here under these additional terms, what we would want to also be included with the sale. At the bottom of every page, you're going to have the buyer's name, property address, buyer's initials, and seller's initials. So you want to make sure that you initial at the bottom of every single page. Moving on to page 3, and we are going to go quickly through this because, like I said, this is just to supplement what we should be talking about and just kind of help better explain some of the terms that we're agreeing upon. So number 5, it says escrow, opening of escrow. We are an escrow state instead of an attorney state. So escrow basically is the unbiased third party that holds all of the funds, conveys the deed to the new buyer, and just holds the transaction together. Does the research, the title research, make sure it's a clean title for you to actually purchase the property. Section B, earnest money. This is basically the skin in the game that the buyer puts into the property. It could be, anywhere between $3,000 to $25,000. It's just a portion of what the price of the home is. So the smaller the price of the home, the smaller the EMD. The larger price on the home, the larger the earnest money deposit. EMD is earnest money deposit. It's an acronym. Just throwing that out there because I know we use these terms and it's like, what the heck do they mean? Okay, so close of escrow. Close of escrow is typically 30 to 45 days from the date of acceptance. So once we write our offer, the seller accepts our offer, we are under contract. That's 2 signatures, that's a valid contract. Typically, we are writing close of escrow for 30 to 45 days unless there's some extenuating circumstances. We need, maybe we're doing an assumable loan, we need more time for paperwork. Maybe For relocation, sometimes you might want to do a longer escrow. There's, I guess, a number of reasons why you would want to do a longer escrow, but typically escrow is 30 to 45 days unless there's some type of complication. And then we can file an extension and addendum, and those are particular cases that we can discuss if need be. We're going to go down to section 7, buyer's due diligence. This is key. This is when we're getting our inspections. So we're having our general contractor go in and give us a top to bottom overlook of everything going on with the property and let us know if we want to move forward with that particular home. If there are some repairs, we can always complete a request for repairs as long as we don't feel that the repairs are very extenuous repairs that need to be made. Property inspections, buyer's right to cancel and resolve objections, all of that kind of falls in line with our due diligence period where we're able to cancel the contract. Page 4 is the type of inspections that we're going to be doing. We're definitely going to be getting the home inspection. The other inspections are on a case-by-case basis. If there is a pool, we may get a pool inspection, but typically we do the home inspection only. The section going down to section 8, escrow fees, real property transfer tax. These are all negotiable. Everything in the contract is generally negotiable, but there are some more common responses, right? Escrow fees, we typically split buyer and seller. I'm getting tongue-tied. We typically split. We split buyer and seller. The appraisal, typically the buyer is paying for that because you want to know what the price of the home is. So you're going to pay to make sure that you are getting the home at the right price. Okay, moving on to page 5. Section D, closing fees. So depends on what kind of market we're in. I know that is tossed around a lot, but you can always ask for closing costs if you need assistance as a buyer, or you can put there that you don't need assistance, and that's where you would put 0, and what you would need from the seller as far as help or what you do not need. The home protection, section E, directly under that, is basically a home warranty plan that will cover like major appliances, and typically you can request that from the seller, which ranges from $500 to maybe $600. It just depends. Everything is getting a little bit more expensive, but typically about $500 to $600 for that. And again, that's negotiable. And then if you are living in an HOA or what is called a CIC, which is basically a community interest of property, then those fees are negotiable as well. Sorry. Okay, so there's multiple fees when it comes to transferring from HOA, from one buyer to the other, from the seller to the buyer, and so those fees are negotiable. And there's a couple of disclosures. Section 11, basically the seller is required by law to disclose any pertinent information that they know about that property, about the condition of the property that they're selling. So I have buyers ask me, well, what if there's something wrong with the plumbing, or how do we know if there's any issues with the roof, especially if we see like a stain in the ceiling. The seller is supposed to disclose everything that they know about that property, and they sign this disclosure stating that here's everything I know about what's going on with this house. And if they, fib, then that disclosure is supposed to hold them accountable. Obviously, you'd have to go through mediation, arbitration, and all of that if some stuff transpires, but hopefully we're getting very honest people that we're doing business with, so we don't have to worry about that. Next page 6. This is the most important part on this page is basically you're going to be going through the walkthrough toward the end of close of escrow, basically 2 to 3 days before you close. When you're going to have the property delivered to you, as long as it's vacant or owner or tenant occupied, and we've agreed that at close of escrow, when everything wraps up, that we will get keys, then you will get keys at close of escrow. Sometimes you may have what's called like a lease back, where the seller might still need a little bit of time after you close. But that's where we would kind of figure out when we're going to get keys to the property. Section 18 about mediation. Typically, if we come to some disagreement during the course of our transaction, this basically states that we will try to mediate before we go into arbitration and civil suits and different things like that. We want to try to, as amicably as possible, resolve whatever our differences are. And let's move forward. Page 7, instructions to escrow is really just instructions to escrow. You can read through that. The second part, it says brokers compensation and fees. If you're working with me, my brokerage does charge a currently $495 brokerage fee. That is typically charged to my clients, regardless of if you're on the buying or the listing side. And I think that's it pretty much on that page. Page 8 is definitions. So some of the terms that we're throwing out there, those are right there for you to review. And keep it moving here. Page 9, addendum, additional terms. Like I said, if we have anything that changes during the course of the transaction, we can always get an addendum to modify the residential purchase agreement. And then if there's additional terms that we're agreeing upon, lease backs, things of that, even though those might require additional addendums, but we can add those here under additional terms if there's something specific that we're negotiating. Page 10 is the buyer's acknowledgement. Basically, this is the buyer signing and saying, I acknowledge that these are the terms that I want to agree to purchase the home. And then it delineates how long we're giving the seller to respond to our offer. And then lastly, page 11 is the seller's information and the seller's representative. And this page will let us know they have 3 options if they are either accepting our offer, countering our offer, or completely rejecting our offer. So we initial every single page, sign it, and that is the residential purchase agreement. Again, you have this form that has a bunch of notes and stuff on it. So hopefully that's helping to explain some of the things that we have gone over. And again, it's a supplement to whatever our conversations are going to be. But congratulations, you have written your offer and we are off and running, and we're about to get keys to a beautiful home. So congratulations for getting it this far in the process, and we'll have more videos to help get through all of this information because this is a big transaction. It's a big deal. So thank you for watching, and hopefully you've learned something today. Okay.